Good morning, workforce board members. I'm Tori Manis, your contractor with Tom Care Group. And I just wanted to make a brief comment this morning to let you know that we hold one truth that we believe really is evident behind our work, and that is this. When childcare doesn't work, business doesn't work. And we've seen over and through and after the pandemic, the increased and ongoing challenge to staff our classrooms, to provide enough affordable, accessible, quality care for parents that want and need to go to work or go to school. And that really supports all the work that this board and our work as Child Care Group are all about. And I'm here today just to quickly let you know that we are so encouraged by the things that we're hearing around our city, around our county, and around our state, and indeed around the country about innovative techniques to blend additional funding streams and to find ways to connect all the dots so that we can bring more funding to support childcare so parents can go to work. So I want to introduce my colleague, Melanie Rubin, a longtime and highly regarded public policy expert in the field of early education. She directs the North Texas Early Education Alliance, which has been in existence for about 15 years. And she's also the facilitator of Clay Jenkins, County Judge Clay Jenkins' Dallas County Commission on Child Care. So I'd like to have her give us a me.
Thank you, Tori, and good morning. Wanted to just briefly mention an exciting opportunity. I would love to think systemically how connecting all the parts. The County Commission on Child Care has brought together a group of leaders across the county to think about how the role can be in helping with child care and how we can all work together to systemically address this issue. And I've landed on an exciting opportunity to use some new funds potentially to bring in employers and do an employer match program, and just really we're at the stage of exploring this option, but really want to think how we can connect the board to this effort and look at all creative ways to address this issue. We are hearing from employers across the county, as I'm sure you all, about how critical the need is for childcare at this point. And across the country, this issue is bubbling up from employers to say, how do we come to the table and how do we meet our employees as well as think county-wide and system-wide, and just really, it's still at initial stages, still working it out, but trying to think through how we connect different systems, different funding to maximize all the amazing and important work that the board does through the Child Care Group and through the subsidy program, as well as bringing in new sources of revenue and new programs. So really still trying to, it's very complicated. There's lots of issues that this issue is, cannot even express how much interest there are from employers that they're saying, what can we do and how does this work? And it's a new source, it's kind of an exciting time, but it's also very complicated and lots of pieces to it. So just wanted to kind of give you a heads up, that's what we're looking at and trying to think through. I appreciate all that you're doing and stay tuned. We'll get back to you with more information.
Melanie, thank you for coming. It's nice to meet you in person. Tori, thank you for your support and for both of you for your work with our children. When you talk about employers, this board is made up of employers. So as we have programs that make, there are opportunities for employers and employer child care. Bring it to us. We're ready to listen. So thank you for your great work. Thank you for coming down today.
Thank you.
We also have Frank Garcia from Texas Youth. Yeah, Frank.
So good morning, my name is Frank Garcia. I am the program director for the our Young Adult program. And I want to tell you a little bit before I introduce our speaker. We went through a kind of a revamp of how we do things with our kids. One thing we wanted to do is make sure that we were preparing them better. So when they got into the work field or into training, that they were better prepared, better ready to meet the challenges that we want for them. So we changed up a couple of things. We went from a one-day orientation to a 3-day format. I can do my report all day about how good we did, but I'd rather let one of the young ladies who participated in the program go tell you about it. Her name is Kate, this is Caitlin Francois. She is one of the young adults that just completed the program, the 3-day orientation training. So I'm gonna let her speak.
Good morning, how are y'all doing? Okay, so I have it on my phone, just some of the things I really love about the orientation. First, I just wanna say that when I got through the orientation, I realized that y'all aren't just helping us out with college and work, but what you're doing is you're helping us give the young people hope. When I was in that room and I saw all of these different young adults, some of them were 16, 17, some of them were 20, 22, 23 like me. I realized that many of them had come from backgrounds that they didn't have an opportunity to do better. They, most of them come from lower backgrounds and didn't have the education they needed, or, maybe something happened with their family. And through this orientation, through Keith and Kalani, the facilitators showing us that it is possible that we can go to college, it is possible that we can complete a GED or go to work. Like, I just felt so much hope from that. And I just want to share some of the things that really stuck out to me. So the first day, what we had to do was first we introduced ourselves and had icebreakers, which is nice because, everybody doesn't know each other. So we're just all just kind of sitting there. But Keith and Kalani did a really good job about allowing us to get to know one another. And they also went through, it was the first day, and there was we had to complete a personality quiz. So this personality quiz basically helped us see which jobs our personality would best be suited for. And that's amazing because so many of us, so many young adults, we don't know what we're good at. I mean, we're just trying to get the best thing and trying to excel, but we don't actually know where we can grow, where we can thrive. And that personality test was so important to me because I'm like, oh, the field that I'm going in is perfect for me. And that's what I feel like workforce, even though I haven't known about y'all for a long time, that's what I feel like y'all want, is you want people to have these careers that they can excel at, they can grow at, they can thrive. And that's the personality test was really helping us. So I appreciated that. And the next one is the icebreakers. I love that because, like I said, we were all kind of in little groups. And so the next day they gave us a little card and they had us at some tables and it broke us up. So we had to get to know the people at our group, and it was smaller, and people were able to really express themselves a lot easier. Also, one thing that I love so much is during this orientation, they taught us how to do a resume and a cover paper. That is one thing that I wish that we had to learn in high school. It's not taught how to do a resume, how to do a cover letter. And so I already have a resume, but the facilitators and the people at the Texas Workforce were able to show me how to clean it up and do a cover paper. And so it really was beneficial for me and also my career and also people around me. So I was so thankful for that. And one thing that also stood out to me was, man, you can tell everybody at the Redbird workforce, and I bet it's also all of the workforce, is that y'all actually care about us. I could tell from Frank, from my facilitators, Keith and Kalani, I saw that y'all really want to help us to do better. And so yeah, I appreciate you for having this orientation and for putting it for 3 days, because it would be a lot of information if it was just one day. It would be a lot. And so you helped us, all of y'all helped us to be able to be successful and to get to the next step. So yeah, I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the program, Thank you.
Caitlin, I don't need a personality test to tell me that you're gonna be just fine. And Frank, thanks for bringing that to us. We deal with some big numbers, but it's really about people. And so, I love these testimonials. So thank you for bringing that forward, and, Caitlin, we'll see you soon, I'm sure. All right, we'll go to the chairman's comment. We have an award to present, some recognition for someone who's very familiar to our board and has moved on to a great position with the city of Dallas. And so we want to honor Deb Ristoji for her service on our board. And it's great to see her smiling face this morning. So without any further ado, we'll present her with a recognition for her service, and please give her a round of applause.
I do want to say a few words. First of all, thank you for the recognition, and I appreciate it. You know, I wasn't on the board for very long. But I have to tell you that my time serving on this board was really impactful to me. Getting to know the board members, getting to know the great team here at Workforce, the incredible work that I think is not as well known in our city as I wish it were. And so I'll continue to carry some of those messages forward in my new role in the city of Dallas. I am an assistant city manager, and my portfolio is one that I'm really excited about. I'm over what's called the sustainable portfolio, aviation, Dallas Water Utilities, transportation, public works, and the bond office. So if you have those kinds of needs, please don't hesitate to reach out. But I'm excited about where this board is right now. You know, one of the things I was incredibly sad about was to be leaving this board to take on this position, because the kinds of conversations that this board is having right now are incredible. And I look forward to listening in from time to time and continuing to hear the great work that we're doing. So thanks to each one of you, and thanks for this lovely recognition.
Yeah, Harry, well, just for you too.
I was wondering what was going on. I see he slid over, so I'm thinking, you know, there's maybe a title there.
You know, I'll say this about Deb. So she was the chair-elect, and it was a board meeting. I remember vividly because I woke up with a scratchy throat, which turned out to be COVID, and I called her that morning and said, "You got to take the board," and she did that. I also recall her walking in the women's Komen Cure for Cancer walkathon when she just had surgery on her ankle. And so gritty, flexible, great communicator. We need her at Dallas City Hall. So thank you for your service, and I miss you.
Well, you can still reach.
Yeah, all right.
So, and speaking of City Hall, there's a briefing today, so I'm not gonna be.
Yeah.
So.
And speaking of Komen, yeah, tell everybody what you're doing this
And
week.
tomorrow I'm leaving for Boston because I've got another walk to do Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so I hope for good weather in Boston, please.
I will keep my comments brief, but I felt compelled to talk about something that's important to all of us. One, it's our 40th anniversary. So you have a letter in front of you. I don't normally have this many words, but with the help of our communications, we put down some words that I think are meaningful to you as a board. First of all, it's our 40th anniversary, and if I were serving on this board, and I was, asked about what goes on at the board, Deb did an excellent job of communicating some of what goes on, but I want you to know that you now have some data in this letter. And she said something that was powerful, that we continue to be a well-kept secret. But as long as we're a well-kept secret, others will try to make us sound like something else. So I need you to help tell our message. And so there's some data points in here. One, that, we have a $170 million budget. It is no secret that about 80% of that goes to childcare. That's why our relationship with the childcare group is extremely important. And the state of Texas has decided that childcare and workforce are one and the same. Very unique to Texas, and this board is not going to change that. And we're not going to take funds that are designated for childcare and use them for work. We can't do that. That's illegal. So some might make allegations or make comments that we can do that. We can't do that. So I want you to know that there are 29 members on this board, and there are about 35 staff. Never been on a board like that. So when you ask staff for something, and remember, there's 29 of us and 35 of them. So I really appreciate the work that's done by our staff. I want you to know that these are people. There are people that work and work hard and do tough work with tough audiences. And I want to talk about our vendors. Equus, thank you for bringing that today. They do tough work with a tough audience. They get a lot of rejection. So thank you, Equus, for what you do. Childcare group, thank you for the work that you do. There are 122 training program providers through our system. There are 212 job fairs last year with 12,000 job seekers, not 500, 12,000. So very effective work is being done because of you. You will see at the end of our program some upcoming job fairs. Go to one. And better yet, if you have an HR department, what you do, ask them to go. Ask them to participate. We have 1,100 employers that we've helped. And oh, by the way, partners, I'm very proud, extremely proud of the partnership that we have with Dallas ISD and Dan Metchke, who serves on this board and is also a trustee. Miguel, a former trustee. Dallas College, the chancellor sits on our board. Irving ISD, Magnus sits on our board. So we have extremely deep and great partnerships on this board. So when you get a chance, read the words before I run out of words. And thank you for your hard work on this board and making a tremendous difference. So those are my comments at this point. We'll move on to the report from the Finance Committee.
I think all I'm functioning today as, even though I'm dressed up, is to introduce, who's going to be? Okay, Michelle, could you arise and talk us through the audit report, which I think is important to you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I'm Michelle Best with Pro, your external auditors. And here to report on the audit group here. We meet with the audit committee a couple of times a year. Once at the beginning of the audit to communicate our audit plan, and then again at the end of the audit to communicate our audit results. And we did have that meeting with the audit committee on July 24th and communicated our audit results, which are very positive audit results. Typically we audit and report on 3 different types of reports: your financial statements, and then your single audit on federal spending, and then the single audit on the state funds. So the financial audit, and all 3 of those we've issued unmodified opinions, and that is a clean opinion, which is the highest level of assurance that we can give. Your financial statements, what the unmodified opinion means is that your financial statements were prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, and they are correct in all material respects. One thing that should be noted is that we did not have any audit adjustments that we needed to make in order to get these financials to that unmodified status. The books and records that were prepared by management were already materially correct. When they came to us, we audited and then issued books are unmodified. We also issue a single audit report, two of them, one of federal and one of state, and this is the reports over your grants and your grant funding. We had no findings on either of the reports, which is good. And what we test for is we test the compliance with federal regulations, state regulations for these grant programs. And we also test the internal controls over that compliance. And again, we had no findings in any of those areas, either federal or state. So it was a good year. It was clean audits. Everything went well, full cooperation management, and had a good conversation with your audit committee over these results. So if there's any questions over the audit, I'd be happy to answer.
Members of the board, anyone have questions? The audit committee has thoroughly exhausted all of the questions, so it's up to you now if you have any additions.
Well, Michelle, thank you for this great report. As a member of the board, it's very important that we get this kind of information. I always ask the same question, and I'll ask it again. Is there anything that keeps you awake at night that this board should be aware of?
That's a tough question because I will say that Workforce Greater Dallas is an extremely well-run organization.
Can you say that again?
Chair.
So what I always worry about and think about is when we're doing our audits is ensuring that have the proper, particularly around grant funding, because I think you said that earlier, 80% of your funding comes from childcare. Childcare was one of the programs that we did look at this year. And so for me, looking and ensuring that that management and staff are up to date on all the latest compliance requirements and all that. That's one of the things that is critical. And that I think about a great deal when we go into any talk about this. So I think, but my fears and worries are put to rest because things did come out clean and the management staff does a fantastic job.
Yeah, and I'll speak to that a little bit, and Ashley can speak to it greater in depth. There are 28 workforce boards across the state. So the program. We need to conserve it. So these other boards function the same way as we do. We just do it better. But we share data, we share information. We've got a new funding source. How are you handling that in South Texas? How are you handling that in Fort Worth? How are you handling that in North Texas? So that data share and communication among the directors is extremely important, as well as chairs work together on state boards relating to workforce. So I don't think we're outside of the rails. It would be very difficult for us to do it. Because we don't operate in a silo, is my point. So any other questions for Michelle? Well, thank you for, again, doing your work to confirm what we all know, that our books and records are doing great shape. So thank you. Thank you. All right. We call for action.
So the action item is motion to accept the findings of the audit report.
Second.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Aye. You want to vote? All right, thank you. I skipped over the declaration and conflict of interest. So I know, Linda, you have one. I know you have one relating to child care group, Dan, DISD,
No, I'm-
college,
I'm the ISD.
DISD, anyone else? All right, thank you very much for confirming those. All right, Alicia Carter, our controller, is going to discuss the financials. Morning.
Good morning, everyone. Because those here, we had a clean audit and you guys approved of the audit. I appreciate that. A lot of hard work went into the audit. And just more to come as we go into budget season. These grants starting July 1. Always a lot of work and always a lot of moving pieces. Childcare seems to be the top of the day, 80% of our grants. We currently have a budget of 138 billion, of which Demetra will talk more later in the meeting. Any questions? Any concern? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to our consent agenda. What is it, action here?
No action.
No action, all right. We will move to our consent agenda. We'll just take it all at once. So when you talk about.
Absolutely. So we're starting on page 16 of your board packet, with not last month, we had a meeting in July's minutes. If you skip ahead to page 2021, we have some policy. And again, there's no local flexibility with this policy that we've included in the consent agenda. You'll see several what are called WD letters. That's a workforce development letter. And when you pull the board packet up online, if you click on any one of those blue underlined WD letters, you can actually go directly to the link online and read through them yourself. For example, the first one put forth by TWC, all of these WD letters are put forth by TWC. They're revising deadlines for data entry. So of course, they just want us to adopt those deadlines locally. The second item on this page was one of the things that Alicia talked about earlier. We have a contract amendment for childcare groups contract, and this is related to Department of Family and Protective Services. We saw this last month and we did not put it in the consent agenda, but based on conversation with the board, we moved it to consent because this is one of those where we were just infused money from the state again. This DFPS grant will always be funded to serve these particular children. So we've requested an additional $380,000 from the state. This grant ends in September 30th. So we're just kind of finalizing, getting close to the end of the year, making sure we have enough money to complete the year for this part of the subsidy program. So we'll be asking for the board to approve infusing childcare groups contract with that same amount of money that we received from the state, the $380,000. And finally, at the bottom of page 21, we have endorsement of external applications and agreements. There's one new one on this list this month. That's the U.S. National Science Foundation. We think this is a fantastic opportunity for bioscience and healthcare. And that brings us to the end of the consent agenda.
Okay, at this point, I would take a motion that we accept the items in the consent agenda.
Couple of quick questions. On the National Science Foundation, what is it that we're actually improving here?
This is just approving the support letter.
Just a support line. Okay, but by the way, that's fantastic. Thanks. I'm really glad that you're endorsing that. And then secondly, I do see a correction that needs to be made in the minutes. I just wanted to demonstrate to everyone that I actually read the minutes. Page 19, Joanne Caruso's name is misspelled.
They did that on purpose.
Let me see what his name.
Yeah. Get alive. Hey, we're going to Ken's house tonight. We're gonna read the minutes.
Make sure that next month.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay. All right. Can I get a motion that we accept the consent items and then we'll discuss?
So make a motion. Second.
All right. And, second? Yeah, all right. And so discussion so far, we'll make the correction to the minutes. Any other discussions regarding consent agenda? All right, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Or opposed? All right. Thank you. We'll go through the consent agenda. We will go back and we'll pick up performance and economics. The snapshot, welcome back, Richard. You were here last meeting, so we'll take us through that.
So I'm going to start on page 25. I'm going to cover the visits to the workforce center, the economic snapshot, and then cover the performance labs, and then, the transition is over to equity, so mentioning some comments on it. But on page 25, this page is just the visits to our workforce center. I always like to compare it to what it was previous. So it's July 24 compared to July 2023. And that's basically what it is. We've shown some improvements and then some slight decreases in our largest center. I think that might be just one less hiring event we had this year compared to last year. But it's good to see that the levels of participation in our centers keep on building up. So on the next page, on page 26, I wanted to cover the economic snapshot. So I'm going to start with the labor participation for June. And the June 23 level was higher than June 24, but the 22 through 2017 levels, I think compared to the most recent 24 are showing that the Texas economy, labor participation is doing well. The next point for this or takeaway is Texas ranks first in the nation for over the year jobs added for June 23 to 24, 295,000. Dallas County unemployment rate is 3.7. It compares to Texas. I took a look at working Texas job openings for July 24 and compared them to previous years. Not as many jobs as previous Julys. I think there might be just a little softening on the number of openings that are coming through. But that's why I would like to go a nice yearly trend analysis to see how the area is doing with that. And then the last thing for the economic snapshot, and it's on the top left, top right, is layoffs by industry. So I looked at May, June, and July, and just filled in what were the number of unemployment insurance claims for industry. And the top is administrative support and all the other industries, and admin support is basically office duties that support other occupations. So a lot of call center type work, things like that, that would support it under industry. That's what the top is. But I'll take any questions if anybody has any at this point before I move on.
Richard, on page 25, the workforce center data.
Yes.
I appreciate you gathering that for the board. I think it's important to know. And I hope our partner Equus is looking at things like Irving, where it's dramatically increased. Well, the reason why and what are they doing that say Redbird isn't doing? So I would like to know from the standpoint of where we have a success story, where there's an increase in traffic. Why is that? And it could be that there was one particular employer there that had a layoff with one particular event. But I'd like to see those success stories, highlighted.
Okay, we can do that. And, having employer type events, employers actually going into the workforce center and having like a small hiring event there, those really draw traffic. And I'm gonna guess that that's what that is for urban. And then the top reason people come to the workforce center is, looking for help finding a job. So, but yeah, we can certainly do that for the next one. So now I'm gonna go ahead and talk about performance. There is no NPR this month. So the most recent one we had was from the June meeting. And the state is working on redeveloping those reports. They've had some system change. So we should have some new redesigned reports for September. So I'll bring those up. I did run some preliminary reports, and we still are having issues with the same measures that were in March, which are all four credential measures for WIA. And the credential measure again is when somebody goes into training, do they obtain a industry recognized credential where they include measurable skills gain and claimant reemployment within 10 weeks. And then the last one would be immediate earnings. We've met with Equus. They've developed some strategies on how to improve performance for now and next year. And, that's, Nick is gonna be, going over them in just a little bit. But we have talked, there are some strategies that we can work on, that can improve and some of this performance. So, but before we do that, I just wanted to touch on the childcare dashboard that is on page 27. And I want to say, or the big takeaway for this is the number of exercise star quality workforce centers. We've never had this many in the system, and childcare group is doing a great job in bringing those on and improving that number. So I just wanted to make that point, saying those numbers of centers are increasing so they can accept more children, so we can meet some of the performance goals for next year. And they are for 22.5. They're doing a good job. So, Nick, if you wanted to.
Richard, Nate comes up, so John.
I have a question.
Sure.
Oh, sorry. Yes. I think it's page 26, back to 897, sorry. Industry not available, that's such a high number. Do they not have to say what industry they were in when they were laid off in order?
That's an excellent question, and it's everyone that applies. That doesn't necessarily mean they get unemployment insurance, but there is a lot of we'll call it gig economy work that doesn't get a certain industry, or maybe they're doing some kind of other contract work that doesn't actually pull down what their industry is. Because when somebody applies for unemployment insurance and they have wages and apply wage system, it actually has, their company is there, it already has what their industry is. So that might be an indication that maybe the company was really small and they didn't have an industry code, or it's those other types of, we call it gig type work, contract work that they apply for.
Yeah, this is a question that's also on page 26. Thank you. The Dallas County labor force statistics in the left-hand column, middle of the page. And it looks like we've seen an increase of 6,512 layoffs. And are we connected with those 6,500 people in some way so that, how do we get that number, and are we able to make an individual connection to those people?
And that is an excellent question. One of the new state, the Texas Workforce Commission focus is a program called RESEA, which is basically reemploying unemployment insurance claimants. They have to meet some specific qualifications for RESEA, like maybe showing potential that they could exhaust their UI benefits. So all those customers, they're called into the workforce center for a one-on-one to talk about types of services that are out there, labor market information, and how they can, I guess, best re-enter the workforce. So there is some engagement with the number of unemployed or the people that follow for unemployment benefits in that institution.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, Richard, I'm gonna direct this to Ashley, if you don't mind. I'm going back to your NPR report, summary that you have there, and specifically relative to technical assistance. Can you talk a little bit more about what happens in the technical assistance plan and how long can you be on a technical assistance plan without some even more serious consequences?
When we are put onto a technical assistance plan or a TAP, we have monthly check-ins with the state. We have to provide even more data than we currently provide, and their goal is to get us off of that TAP and to be performant. Now, I want to look to Connie about the timeline. I don't want to say the wrong thing. You have to meet performance for 3 consecutive months before they'll take you off the TAP. But how long can you stay on a TAP before, for the whole year? What happens the next year? If you start over? They can eventually sanction you. They could eventually should sanction you.
And what do you mean by sanction? What is?
Sanction is more intense monitoring where it's regular scheduled meetings, virtual meetings with the staff. So they're really gonna ratchet up their technical assistance meetings.
How does that impact workflow within the organization?
Sort of pulls this off some tasks, which are primarily focused on performance.
And can that have further impact on other measures?
It could, it's replacing primary focus on what you're missing. So the trick is to still maintain the ones you're meeting and bring out the ones you're going.
And then if I remember correctly, previous reports that Richard's provided in the past, some of these are not unique to our world. I mean, these are happening all throughout the state, right? But some of them are unique to our world. So with those, I'm looking forward to seeing the next month when this new report that you referred to comes out and get a better perspective on that.
And I will add a little bit more, those technical assistance plans, they rely on the state's official monthly performance report. So since they're a little behind, they haven't updated the TAP. We should be coming off one of those TAPs. The technical assistance plan, I believe it's for WYOA adult earnings, which we're now meeting, so that one should go away. But we could pick up a few more, and but we'll wait and see on that. And then one more thing between the TAP, the next step is the improvement plan, and then I think it goes to sanction. But we're not there yet. We're having the kinds of discussion. Hopefully, we will prevent that from happening. But I just wanted to have that.
Richard, so I've been on the board quite a while. I don't ever recall seeing 8 commissioners missed before. Do you recall that?
No, and I've been around for a long time, and in the fact that they're all, maybe grouped, like they're all have similarities with credential measures. It is something that is concerning, what we wanted to have these kind of discussions with that was see, how to identify the issues and strategies we could do to improve performance. But yes, that is more than I've seen. There might have been a mix of different kinds of measures, choices or something, maybe something. Just all things all over. But yeah, this year hasn't been good for performance. But here.
Yeah, so, which sort of brings me to the next question is, having served in this role, Bill has, Dallas has always had this incredible reputation of exceeding measures and statewide. And so to be in this position, suddenly the last report was the same. So did something change? Has something happened at Equus that this board needs to know about that is causing these missed measures? And what are they doing specifically with Leola to correct this matter?
Well, and I think this is a good time to transition to Equus. They are ready to provide, some of those comments that you'd like.
Any other questions for Richard before we let him on? Yeah.
And this may be a question for Equus, but
Sure.
so when on 24, when we say contract strategy to improve performance, what entity is tasked with improving performance? That's Equus as well, or is that?
It's a combination, ultimately the board is responsible for performance. So you would have to work well together. And
Yeah, I guess I mean more like, I'm not gonna train staff.
Well, that's what I was gonna go with, Bill. I think, when I had, reviewed this, that was my question, and maybe as part of, follow up, our next board meeting. Because we talked about some of these strategies last time with Nick. I think there's an opportunity to say the who, like Miguel was saying, but also by when and improving from what baseline to what goal, so that we have more visibility on how we're improving it with some metrics involved, with some timelines involved.
That's exactly where I was going, but I will also take a step back and say, I'm extremely appreciative of this page that says all this stuff at a very high level. Significantly different than looking at a bunch of, so this is super helpful, thank you, and it's gonna get us to a point where we actually have a more substantive conversation about the tactics that need to shape the strategy.
And then we do try to listen to, board can take away some of those, takeaways that we can improve. We can make the changes needed, so we can improve the services for Dallas County. So, thank you, and we'll continue doing those type of things. I did write down, some of those other notes, and we'll keep those in.
We would explain to the board the timeline of the measures, so they know how we're going to be working within.
Absolutely. Good morning. We're here again. But what Demetrius is asking is that I actually explain the timelines of the metrics of the ones that we're not meeting. And it's specifically for WIOA. We're looking at participants who have participated in our program and actually exited out of the program, similar to going to school to graduate, right? So think of it as a graduation date. When they exit the program, WIOA measures are a retention measure, meaning that a lot of time has to pass in order for us to be able to go back and track if we were successful. So many times on the NPR, you'll see a to and a from for each performance metric. And you will see that we're looking at metrics back into what happened in 2022 and 2023. So one thing that I want to make very clear is when you look at performance on the NPR for WIOA, specifically, outside of MSG for the credential ones and for the earnings, the Q2 and the Q4, you're looking at participants that participated in our program, our workforce centers back in 2022 and 2023. So that's what we're really looking at. I know a lot of questions have come up in regards to, well, what are we doing today to impact the current NPR that we're being judged on? And the reality is the participants that are participating today are not represented on the NPR each month. The NPR represents participants from 2 years ago, not participants today. So when you talk about strategies of what we're able to do, I want to talk very quickly about what are we doing to impact performance for this year, as well as how do we protect future performance and predict that. So I'll just start with the NPR again. So we're missing 8 metrics. As Richard explained, 6 of those 8 measures are grouped in a training component. So all of those measures, those 6 are a training component, meaning there's some consistency around what happened. What was going on with the actual operations, what's going on with the training providers, what's going on with the actual students that are in those programs. What I've been able to identify, looking back into the past, or how we're being judged today is, many times we were not capturing, whether that be from the training provider, sending us the credentials once they finish training, or being able to capture it from a staff level, from the participant to alert us or notify us when they complete training and when it's successful. The way performance is captured in the system from Twist or WIC now is once that credential is in hand, we enter that information into the system. And then that's how the report is captured. If it's not entered into the system, it does not count. What I found is there are a lot of credentials or a lot of completions that have happened with participants that have not been entered into the system. Now, I know what you're gonna say. Well, why does it take 2 years to know that? That's why our current strategies of what we've been able to do last year and even this year speak to our process flow of how we're able to track specifically when someone finishes, where do we get that actual credential from? Ensuring with staff and accountability that it is in the actual system and it was done correctly. Part of the system change from Twist to Working Texan requires us to use the proper groupings in the system for it to pull in. And that's with dates. So if our dates are wrong or any types of other information is wrong, that will flag and will not give us credit. So I will speak to some of the current best practices that we have outside of that. Before I do that, is there any questions in regards to when we're talking about WIOA performance? We're talking about participants that exited the program 2 years ago to a year and a half ago. Are there any questions about that?
Yeah, I got maybe a bigger question, which is,
Yeah.
I heard maybe 2 or 3 board members ask a question about accountability, inside and outside. You know, quarterback goes back, throws a pass, it's getting dropped. They play the quarterback or the wide receiver, sometimes both. Who wants to raise their hand and say, I'm accountable? I guess this board probably has to at some point say, if you can't tell us who it is, we'll have to assign it. That's executive session, we'll probably talk about that. So I'm not asking you on the spot right now, but I think we're kind of getting to this point of, this isn't good news. And it seems to be stuck. So who is it who says, I got this, and I'll run the right route and catch the ball? Is that fair, Miguel? I think we're pushing towards that with these questions and don't feel like we got a good answer.
Right. In regards to accountability, I own it. So you all understand that I own that. I've owned it every single year since I've been here. And as Carter talked about, Dallas has always been on the top. So when we talk about some of the things that have happened that I've seen that has changed, not just with operations, but just in regards to our back office with our training providers, one of the things I presented on in the last board meetings is our targets from previous years are no longer the same. They have been increased aggressively. So the bar is higher. That doesn't mean that we should not do the work. When we actually train, and I do training and our other program directors do training, one of the things we do not focus on is the actual targets at the end of the year. You go to a restaurant, you expect to eat. You're gonna serve 100% of the people 100% of the time. And typically with our training staff, what we tell them is if you focus on serving 7 out of 10, you may fall short. But if you focus on serving 100% of your participants when they come in, the performance should take care of itself. Now, what I've identified in quarterbacking this situation is
there has been a lag in regards to receiving the credentialing information from the training provider and that information being passed directly to center operations and getting entered into the system. Now, we've had situations where a lot of participants have gone to training. We spent $10,000 or $15,000 of federal and state funds for someone to go get trained, but they stop going to training. They leave training because they went and got a job. So in that regard, we're left with a dilemma, a catch-22. So if we've spent money on someone, but they don't finish the training, are they successful or are they not successful, even if they got the outcome that they wanted when they first came in, which was a job? So one of the things that we're doing right now, and Frank was a great example of this with the young lady that he brought in, is for suitability for the program. We have to spend more time assessing our participants right now in regards to what is their greatest need? Is your greatest need training or is your greatest need a job? Because we don't want you to give up training as soon as you get a job, because the idea around training is to put you into a career. So that's why we have the 3-day orientation program that she was speaking about for our young adults, because that's one of the metrics that's on the tab, is our youth credential measure. Our young adults don't stay into the program and they end up leaving, going to get a job, or they just disappear. With this new process flow that we have and this new initiative we put forward, you've heard from her in regards to it's the level of focus that the cohort gives in a 3-day period so that everyone moves together to say, we're gonna complete this together. You're getting to know the other students. It's no longer just one-on-one with you and a case manager. You actually have a cohort that's with you, that you can partner with, so that if you don't show up for class, if you don't show up for your assigned meetings, you have accountability partners. So these are strategies we implemented that you will see in future performance. But again, when you look at the NPR, it's looking at those participants that participated in the program 2 years ago. So our current strategies cannot impact past performance in itself. But what I can do to impact past performance is to go in from a retention standpoint and reach out to those training providers and say, hey, we had 10 people go to your training provider school. I showed that 8 people completed in the system, but I only showed 5 outcomes that my staff were able to enter. I need you to send me those 3 credentials. Do you have them? Sometimes the training providers respond, sometimes they don't. They've already got paid. So that's something that I've been able to identify, and with our current strategy of how we pay our, providers, we've created an introductory letter that actually talks about the accountability that we have to them, what we're gonna provide, and then also the accountability of what we expect. We expect credentials, we expect employment outcomes, we expect progress reports. These are things that go into the agreement that now we're able to truly, hold them to. That before, performance was always good, so it's almost like if you're in the black, you're not reactionary, right? But then when the fires start, you really have to fine tune and use more of a Lean Six Sigma strategy of how to perform.
Thanks. I want to just point out that those vendors expect payment, right? And we expect results. So there's all these expectations, and I think Harry's point is we're holding you accountable. And you need to hold those vendors who got paid accountable. All right, Miguel, I think you had a question.
Just a clarifying question. I do appreciate you working and trying to get the root cause and sort of analysis you've done. I just want to make sure I understand you correctly. Of the 8 performance measures that currently we're missing, is it that you're saying all 8 of those are ultimately driven by the fact that there is a lag in data and the data systems that are in place in the training ground data? Or is it just some of the measures?
I'm not saying that it's a lag. A lag is inherent with the metric.
Yeah, so that's a good, let me clarify. Okay. That we aren't getting the data that we need to have to be able to know whether or not we are actually set up to hit these measures.
It's a combination between ensuring we have a proper relationship with the training providers so they understand the outcomes that we are required to perform at. So it's that back office channel along with being able to walk that participant hand in hand through the training curriculum so that they actually finish. Many times, I'll just give you an example. If you were a participant goes through training, once we essentially, I don't want to say pass them off to the training provider, but from the perspective of the participant, they're in school now, so they don't necessarily see the need for us because now they're in school. So they start to communicate with the training provider and less with us. That's what I've seen. So what we have to do is have more of an engagement standpoint with each participant while they're in training so that they don't disappear if they fall out of training or disappear once they complete training. We're having more of a relational interaction with the participant hand in hand to ensure that hours training going from a week to week standpoint, we should not be able to wait on a monthly report for the training provider to tell us, well, we had 10 people here, but only 5 people came back. We're having a week to week dialogue and interaction with the training provider as well as with the participant. So in real time, we know specifically who's in training, what has happened, what barriers may have taken them out so we can get them back into training before they're deobligated out. Does that answer your question? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm wondering which of our peer workforce boards are doing well in these and have we benchmarked against them for best practices?
It's a great question. I will tell you of the large boards that are similar to Dallas, we're missing 8 measures. Gulf Coast is missing 8. Gulf Coast is missing 8, Alamo is missing 7, North Central is missing 6. When you look at the at a glance report and the NPR, it shows all 20 boards. It shows all measures that they're meeting and ones they're not meeting. There is a very high correlation between the training measures in regards to who's meeting and not meeting those. And that's something that is visible in the at a glance. So it's not that, Lower Rio is part of the larger board, but they have smaller populations. They tend to do very, very well. But when you look at Gulf Coast and Alamo and then ourselves, which tend to be larger, North Central, we're struggling with the same issues.
Is Equus the contractor for any of those that you mentioned?
Gulf Coast, we are, it's a shared contract in Gulf Coast. North Central, Equus is the contractor, Alamo, I don't believe the contractor there.
Thanks.
But there are a lot of demographic similarities with those populations. You'll tend to see better performance in rural areas than you would a lot in metro places.
All right, any other questions? Nick, thank you for coming in and answering our questions.
We are getting it turned around. Thank you.
All right, let's move along in our agenda. I think Rebecca, you're going to report on the quality assurance.
Thank you, Ned. I call you manager, deal officer for the board. You look at page 3, we have to give a couple of brief updates on our external program and fiscal monitoring. Fiscal review for Equus is complete pending the final report. Physical review for Wilkinson Center, which is one of our ADL contractors, it's completed pending the determination of any refunds due. Both the fiscal and program reports are final for childcare group. There was a small refund due to us in the amount of $192 for the program review. And regarding the fiscal, the report's final with refund due at $11,649.97. The program review for Choices NCP is ongoing at this time. That is announced. Those are ethics programs. If you look at the bottom of the page, you will see that TWC audit resolution has issued a final report regarding the child care recoupment funding from last annual monitoring review. That report states that it has been resolved now. Speaking of the TWC annual monitoring, they will be here the week of September 30th to do, it will be a virtual review, but they will be doing the Dallas for the annual monitoring. Questions?
Just point out to the board that in addition to an external audit, we have monitors that are monitoring the programs which Becky oversees. So it's just an additional level of review that assures that we're getting what we paid for. So thank you. All right, our audience, I do always hate to do this, but we do have some matters, particular for the board in closed session. So I invite you to go to the back room, help yourself to watch snacks, and we will go and I thank you, guests, for your patience. We had a number of matters that we just needed to get handled, and this is a working board. I remind everyone of that. And so there are matters that we just have to take offline, and we've done that. We're now back in open session. We'll get back on the agenda, and we're going to complete the 30 minutes, like it or not. So we'll move now to updates on contracts and amendments. Demetria is here and
Here.
take us through it.
Really quickly, good morning. There are two items on page 32 that I'm covering this morning. These are items we're bringing back to the board after contract negotiations. New projects, things that we procured some months ago, and then even last year for Child Equality. The first one is Partners for Reentry Opportunities and Workforce Development. That's the PROUD grant, a new grant we received that is working with the second chance population, those that are coming out of incarceration and transitioning back into life again in the world. So we have 3 different contractors that we're working with for this project specifically. Equus is included as one of those 3 since they operate our workforce services. They will assist in job preparation and job search and job placement on the end of that. Lone Star Justice, I'm going from the bottom to the top on page 32. Lone Star Justice, we're gonna do individual referrals to that company because they specifically work with young adults, 18 to 24 that are coming out of incarceration. And then Unlocking Doors will be kind of like our primary contractor here that's doing the intake and assessment of individuals coming out of the system to help them reiterate into society and job preparation training. So those are the 3 contractors that are being specific for the PROUD grant that is new to us for that population that are, we're already starting to work with. TWC is running, it's a TWC grant. So they're giving us guidance and only certain number of boards. I can't remember how many boards.
It's about 5.
It's about 5 workforce boards that receive this type of funding as well. So it's new, it's exciting. Ken Anderson and Rachel Burhay, which is out today, will be having oversight of this grant and running this program for us. So those are the 3 contractors for PROUD. Do you want me to do? I need to do them separately. The other one is Child Equality.
We can't take a vote. We can do.
We'll ratify.
We'll ratify next time, so,
I just do want to call out PROUD, and when we say this board does tough work, that's tough work with a tough audience, but we take it on.
we're excited.
Well, yeah, and I like to say we're in the barrier busting business, so.
When you, since Justin thought it still, it's like we can hit it.
Does that make sense?
That's what Bell said.
Barrier busting.
Well,
You heard it somewhere. So that push it to next
Do
meeting.
you want me
Yeah.
to say the other one?
Yeah, go ahead, keep going.
Okay. So the next one is childcare quality. We did a procurement back in October 2023. We've been working with Wonder School for a while, trying to streamline what they are offering for Dallas County and how it would help our providers. We think we got it down. We negotiated, this was subsequent to our child care advisory council, just so you know. So we've been in negotiation with them for months, trying to get the curriculum in a place that will benefit our existing providers to help maximize their enrollments and their operational systems. So we're doing a pilot in Wonder School for up to 40 early learning programs that we will be able to improve for this project, to help them with their business sustainability operations. So, we're asking to contract with Wonder School for up to $80,000.
Sure.
So no action, but I'll take the questions if you have.
Demetria? Great.
Thank you.
All right, I'm finishing up. We have policy on page 33. And really what this is local boards are required to set how many job searches. Currently, we've had 3 since 2020. So it's 3 job searches for an unemployed individual receiving benefits. So I looked at other local boards to see what other boards require. Tarrant County is also 3, Gold Coast is 3. North Central around us requires 5. So we're recommending to maintain the 3. Just, that sounds like it's a reasonable option for our job seekers. And it's very easy, for the job search attempts. It's applying with Work in Texas, applying for jobs. It's, attending live, Facebook Live events, virtual events, other things like that. So it's fairly easy for people to apply for jobs.
This was the policy that was controversial during the pandemic.
Yes.
And so we've now settled down and we're in a normal situation. Prior to the pandemic, were we still 3 at that time as well?
No, we were at 4.
So why would we not want to go back to 4?
I think it's fairly easy for people to find a job. I think 3 would be a reasonable expectation for job search. I mean, I think the unemployment rate is still fairly low. I think in prior to 2019, Richard, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the unemployment rate was higher than it is now.
2019. Yeah, it's just going by memory, but I think it was approximately like 6%.
Define it a little more. Can I make a phone call to see if there's a job? Does that count? Do I have to go someplace? Can I search online? What's actually defined as a job search?
Well, and I think provide a link to that, but yes, a phone call, there's a variety of chains that's on the group that can find job search. And it needs to be documented.
I think maybe I understood the discussion, he's saying that prior you had to show you have searched at least 4 places to get on UI. So that we're reducing it to 3, and that's not necessarily tied to what the unemployment rate is. It's a requirement before you get service. So the question is, why was it reduced?
Or why wouldn't we go back to 4? Because it seemed to work for us before, and we're now in a post-pandemic world where things have settled.
Well, we certainly can, this is up for discussion, and it's up to the local board what we want to do, so. And since we can't vote today, we've got some time to think about it. And I can come back with more responses for y'all.
So Connie, when we say the job search, we explain that these are individuals that are on unemployment now and reporting that activity back to the state as they collect unemployment. it really does not come through us at all, but it's a local policy that we have to have in our area. And it's across 28 workers, of course, that have different policies that require how many attempts that they have to do to report back to TWC for unemployment insurance.
Correct, yes.
I just wanted to, if I can, if the data exists, go to conversation next week.
If I could, I'd love to be able to see what is the conversion rate or the time that someone saves on unemployment, at least in Dallas County. That would be helpful, I think, to me, to know whether it's, we want to bump it to 4. So if we get those data, I think, how long is someone saving on unemployment currently? And how it ties mostly to this policy.
Roland just had one. Roland.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the hiring manager and looking at. I just wanted to say as a hiring manager and looking at applications that come through, I see a lot of applications where people have no connection to the job they're applying for. And so my concern is if they get too much, we make too many attempts, then you're getting mad at people that simply didn't think. So that's all.
Okay, more discussion on that to come. Yeah, right. Okay, so I have anything to vote on? Thank you, Connie. We'll do committee reports real quickly. Dan, could you give us an update on strategic planning committee?
Well, I thought we were done in June until I talked to you yesterday. But as I understand it, we have a contract that is was submitted by Tip Strategies, and staff has reviewed it, and now it is undergoing our own legal review. And assuming the legal review is okay, we'll sign the contract. Ashley will sign the contract. But we authorized the signing of the contract in June, subject to qualifications and extension.
Great. Thank you for your work in the committee of strategic planning. I think that's a big lift for this organization. So can't wait to get involved and dig into that as a group. So thank you, Dan. Rebecca?
Great, Rebecca, the committee met on August 7th. We reviewed and edited the committee charter. It is in your board packet. Communications update, the website reviews continue, it's underway. The position of the communications coordinator has been posted and interviews are underway as well. In terms of the industry sector model update, Workforce Solutions Dallas, Dallas College, and the regional chamber have formed a partnership to create the various industry sector communities. The 3 specific ones that Workforce Solutions is championing are advanced manufacturing semiconductor, 2 construction and infrastructure, 3 logistics and transportation. There are numerous workforce community partnerships that are open to anyone interested. We hosted a few last week with the ISD Resource Centers, a tour of the YMCA Workforce Partnership on August 16th. And there are upcoming ones at the Northwest Community Center. The board is also going to pull the board on what potential partnerships you would like to see. So look out for a poll and then we can plan those visits. And we've already heard on performance updates. Last thing there are upcoming 2 things, upcoming events. There's a flyer of all the job fairs included in your board package. It's also virtual. Please post and share your networks. And next is we have Texas Career Day on September 25th. We're looking for sponsors for student lunches. If you or any of your companies are interested in sponsoring, please reach out to see.
Thank you so much and for your continued work. I know you changed employers and it's great to see that you continue on working with us. So thank you for that. Governance, Joanne had another engagement she had to leave. So Ashley, would you give us an update on the Governance Committee.
Absolutely. You'll see on the agenda, we listed bylaws. We actually pulled that yesterday as we we're working through some changes with some charters. So the bylaw draft that I emailed to you all, we haven't made any changes to that, and you've received 2 committee charters. You've received the charter for the Finance and Audit Committee along with the Governance Committee. We have 2 more that we're working through, Achievement Alliance and the Child Care Advisory Council. We're making some overall uniform changes to all of those committees. All of those charters, we'll get those back out to you and bring them to the September board meeting. Is the goal to approve the amendment to the bylaws and then those new charters. So thank you all for your help in working with those committees and getting those completed.
Again, just to thank Joanne for her hard work, and I think they were, this bylaw stuff was reviewed in 1863 and we've now updated it, so we're a moving and shaking board. All right, there's no update on child care and where up, so any other general discussion?
Can I ask a question on the child care thing? Do we have an active child now? Do we have this? When is the next week? Do we have since it's going out?
We do not have a next meeting on the calendar at this point.
That's fine, thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca, for loading our calendars with your committee.
Yes.
All right, any other discussion? All right, we're out of here. Before.